Welcome to inZOI, a game so new that it still has the add to Steam wishlist in the main game. And what better way to start off the Sims killer by creating the perfect family. This is Mark Grayson from the Invincible comic, and in true fashion, we've only just started the game and he's already somehow annoyed with his family. If you don't know anything about Nolan, he isn't the nicest of guys. inZOI has introduced this neat little feature where you can introduce AI emotes, so I thought about feeding this clip to sort of get that emotion that Nolan has. Except, it didn't really pick up on Nolan and decided to pick up on Mark, who's laying on the ground. And, well yeah, this is the result. As I loaded back into the game, I decided to take a look at Mark, which is where I found him merging in with the door and somehow becoming one with the new house. Debbie, realizing that she doesn't have a car, decided to go out for a walk and meet with a new neighbor. And, well, the interaction didn't go as planned. Debbie, wanting to gamble a bit more, decided to try her luck, and yeah, it's still bad. And this is where we leave Debbie to check on the other housemates. When we swap to Mark, we can see that he's just awkwardly sitting with his dad. And if we check his dad's awkwardly annoyed. So instead of taking his anger out on his son, he decides to go and try some boxing. Mark, realizing that he doesn't want to embarrass his dad, decides to go out. And I swap back to Debbie and we find her awkwardly trying to find food, where she picks up a coffee, says thank you, doesn't pay for it, and walks off. While still hungry. I don't know what that coffee's going to do, but... We then find Nolan and Mark out and about, and this is where I realised that I didn't actually realise that was Mark sitting down. Oh, is that my son? That's my son! I had no clue that was my son. If you know anything about Nolan, well, he's not actually caring about the conversation he's getting into, as he's quite sad that he's not conquering the world, as you can see at the bottom. And after being a bit annoyed with talking with his son, he decides to get up and get a drink because he's a bit thirsty. But in normal Nolan fashion, he decides to do this. He decides not to sit back down with his son and instead go away from him. After realizing that I have no clue where Debbie is, I decide to click on her portrait, and I found her like this. Oh my god! Why is she asleep on the bench? Why is she asleep on the bench? So for some reason Debbie's deciding to sleep on a bench, so I decide to leave her there and check back on with Mark and Nolan. Mark's found a few new friends that he wants to interact with, but he doesn't really understand how to interact. And he gets a bit annoyed and embarrassed. Why is he embarrassed? Don't bring up boxing. Now, he's a bit embarrassed because of boxing, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share boxing techniques with this girl. Hopefully, it should work. Surprisingly, after all that talking of boxing for hours on end, he's actually been able to make a friend. Decides to ask for a selfie. What the hell is Kipsy? So the family's been living here for what, about 2 hours? Real game time? And it's definitely time to relocate. So Mark didn't have a bed, so what I'm doing is relocating him and his family to a new area. And I'm going to try out some of the building techniques. However, some of the building techniques are a bit interesting. They're a bit buggy, to say the least. Oh no. I don't think that's to happen. So what's really interesting is this game also has Samsung sponsored products, which I've never really seen before. They have all the sort of latest technology that have been released at sort of technology conventions. So you have stuff like foldable laptops, rollable screens and so on and so forth. So it is a bit weird and interesting in that sort of sense that they have these cosmetics but not other normal ones. After finishing off the house, I decided to check on the family and see what they're up to, but I didn't realise that I had left them in the other house that I'd completely sold. And, well, this is how I found them. Yes. He was sleeping on the bed, but because we moved home, he's floating. And there's a slight issue when you do the same thing. When you move the house, you get the same problem. Oh my god, did they just... Why did they jump outside of the house? And why is he floating? What the hell?